right, let's think about model space and paper space. As you know, you draw things in model space and you always draw full size. So if you're making a working drawing of a trailer that's 50 feet long, in model space you draw it 50 feet long. If you're making a microscope part that is 30 thousandths of an inch long, in model space you draw it 30 thousandths of an inch long. So you always draw full size. The only time you do scaling is when you're getting ready to print something, and you use the viewport in paper space to do that. And a viewport is just a window that you cut in your piece of paper so you can reach through that piece of paper, look through that piece of paper, and see what you've got in model space. Here's what you do. So here's the part that you'll be drawing for this assignment, and let's say you've drawn it in model space. Now you go to paper space with the, I've clicked my B size layout tab here, my paper space tab. And I want to open that viewport so that I can see and reach into model space. So to do that, double click anywhere inside that viewport window, and you can see that the viewport gets thicker. That's how it highlights. That tells you it's open. Or if you prefer, you can click this tab down here at the bottom of the AutoCAD screen. It's normally showing paper when you're in paper space. If you click that tab, it'll switch to model space, and that viewport line will get highlighted. With your viewport open, you go down here to the taskbar where there's a drop-down arrow for scale. And when you have the viewport open, let me back up. So when you've double-clicked or clicked that tab and the viewport line is highlighted, that thing down there, that drop-down arrow, will have some number in it. And you want to select a scale from this drop-down list, or in this case, drop-up list. Select one of these standard scales. So you can't just make your drawing 0.83 to 2. That's not a scale. You pick a scale like you would find on an architect's scale or an engineer's scale, usually one of these. For our first drawing, we'll be able to make our drawing a scale of 1 to 1, so it won't be too convoluted. So you select your scale. Then the very next thing you should do is close your viewport before you do anything else. The reason for that is when your viewport is open, let me back up. So let's say your viewport is open, you set the scale, that's great, and then you go, oh wait, I should zoom in here and see what's happening. And then you close your viewport. Well, you've just messed up your whole scale. Believe me, this is the voice of experience talking. So just make yourself a hard and fast rule. Set the scale, and the very next thing you do, close that viewport. And you can do that by either double-clicking outside the viewport, anywhere outside, or clicking this tab and switch it from model back to paper. Okay. Now for scaling, that scale that you set, and in our drawing here we were setting it to a scale of 1 to 1, but sometimes you set it at 1 to 2 or 1 to 4. Whatever the viewport scale is, 1 to something or other, that something or other is the drawing scale factor. So for instance, if your viewport scale were 1 to 2, 1 over 2, your drawing scale factor would be 2. If your viewport scale were 1 to 1, 1 over 1, your drawing scale factor would be 1. And you use that drawing scale factor for a whole range of size-related attributes, variables. You use it for setting your dimension scale, your line type scale, your hatch scale, probably some other things I can't think of. So here's maybe more text and numbers than you want, trying to explain how the viewport scale is the reciprocal of the drawing scale factor. But let me just go to the next slide. Don't let this bug you. Here it is all boiled down in a nutshell. If your plot scale, your viewport scale, is 1 to 2, then your drawing scale factor is 2. Here's a bunch of examples about a scale of 1 to 4, but here it is boiled down a little bit more simply. If your viewport scale is 1 to 4, then your drawing scale factor is 4. That's it. Whatever number is in the bottom of your fraction here, that number is your drawing scale factor. And as we just said a minute ago, you use that for your dimensions style scale. Oh, come to think of it, your leader style also. You use it for your line type scale, your hatch scale. What about that line type scale? When you have lines with dashes in them, like hidden lines or center lines, those dashes are supposed to be 1/8 of an inch long. Well, if you're scaling your drawing down, half size, quarter size or something, those dashes might get teeny tiny. So you set the line type scale to tell AutoCAD what scale you're plotting at, and it will automatically scale up these dashes for you so that they look 1/8 of an inch long when printed. What about this one? Pslt Scale, which stands for Paper Space LT Scale. In drawings that have multiple viewports, and you probably run into that more often in architectural drawings than you do mechanical, although you can do them in mechanical also. But in architectural drawings, architects will often want to have these dash lines a different length in a different viewport that's at a different scale. And so you can use this setting to make it do that. In our mechanical drawings, or if we're in a drawing where we have only one viewport, as we do, we don't want paper space line type scale doing that stuff for us. We want to turn it off. And you probably are aware that in the world of computers, computers speak in ones and zeros, and 1 is on, 0 is off. Paper Space LT Scale is an on-off switch, and we want to turn it off. So what we do is we type PSLT Scale 0, enter. So you'll do that, and then you'll say, hey, my dashes didn't change. What's going on here? So then you need to type regen all, which is short for regenerate all viewports. What's happening is you might set your PSLT scale, turn it off, and AutoCAD is still retaining a picture from its memory back in the days when you had it turned on. So you have to regenerate so that it reprocesses whatever that system variable is. And because this variable relates to having multiple viewports, you need to tell it, look, whatever viewport you're looking at, regenerate that one, regenerate all of them. So type regen all. So here's a summary of what you do to get stuff set up the right scale in your drawing. You go to your paper space and you set your viewport scale. 1 to 1, 1 to 2, whatever. Let's say it's 1 to 2 in a drawing. Then you go to dimension style, which we won't look at today, but we'll look at next time. And you set its scale to that drawing scale factor. So in our example drawing, it might be 2. Then you type LT scale and set it to 2. Then you type Pslt scale and set it to 0. And then you type regen all. I know that is just not intuitive or user-friendly. Sorry about that. I did make a handout. I wrote this up in a Word document, which you will find in the class next to these PowerPoint slides. You might want to keep that Word document. Maybe make a notebook for yourself or a file folder in your computer and keep stuff like that so you can look it up easily.